quality auto parts at discount prices. They always have a huge inventory of parts in stock when you visit a Napa Auto Part location. Over 200,000 parts in stock. Ask about their Napa lifetime warranty on most items with a no-hassle return policy. Open weekends and evenings. In Brownsville, phone 724-785-3800. Bell Vernon, dial 724-929-5522. Monongahela, dial 724-258-3101. And in Uniontown, dial 724-437-7553 for Napa Auto Parts.
Route 21 Furniture, take the road to your perfect home.
Sleep well tonight. Try out a new mattress from Route 21 Furniture with a large selection of mattresses, all sizes and comfort levels, with great prices, free local delivery and setup, and financing options. Route 21 Furniture. Open weekdays 9 to 5, Saturday 10 to 5, Sunday noon to 4. 724-737-2222 or Route21Furniture.com.
Route 21 Furniture, take the road to your perfect home.
Chris Parker Jr., what's going on at Autoland Hyundai?
While other car manufacturers are raising prices, at Autoland, we're lowering prices. We are also offering above Blue Book value in all trades. All this, plus the amazing incentives and financing offers from Hyundai on top of that.
I'm listening.
How about the fuel-efficient 2025 Elantra SE with 2.99 APR for 72 months available, or lease for $229 per month? Check out our great selection of all-wheel drive SUVs, from the Hyundai Kona crossover to the full-size third-row Santa Fe, with an amazing 0% financing for 60 months, or choose up to $3,500 HMF bonus cash on the Santa Fe.
Plus Hyundai Owner Assurance, America's best warranty, 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain protection with every new Hyundai purchased, and 3-year, 36,000-mile free complimentary maintenance. Autoland Hyundai, downtown Uniontown, or visit their website at AutolandHyundai.com.
Remember, you always pay less to drive the best at Autoland Hyundai.
Your health is more than just how you feel today. It's about staying well for the years ahead. At WVU Medicine Uniontown Hospital Primary Care, we're here to help you manage your health with regular checkups, screenings, and care that's tailored to you. With locations in Uniontown, Carmichaels, Connellsville, and Scottdale, it's easy to find care close to home. Visit wvumedicine.org/Uniontown today to find the primary care provider who is right for you.
Ready to update your home? Find what you need at Zen's Construction Warehouse. Their friendly, knowledgeable staff will be happy to help you the old-fashioned way. Zen's is open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5:30, Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 2. 485 Walnut Hill Road in Continental. Zen's Construction Warehouse, 724-366-8274. Or visit Zen's Construction Warehouse's Facebook page.
Zen's Construction Warehouse, our surplus, your savings.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of John Marietta and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Fayette County Recorder of Deeds Office or Fayette County government. This program is privately produced and funded, and no county resources are used for its production or promotion.
I'll tell you what, Fayette County, it's our time to stand up and take back our county and our country. The establishment elite, the career politicians, the swamp creatures in both parties, they have spent decades selling us out, making deals that benefit themselves and their donors, while the hardworking people of Fayette County and across America get left behind. They tell us to sit down, shut up, let them run things. They tell us, trust the system, but the system ain't working for us. It's working against us. Well, I've got news for them. We're not backing down. We're just getting started. We are the steel workers, the coal miners, the farmers, the small business owners, the first responders, and the families who built this nation with our bare hands. We work, we build, we sacrifice, and we don't need government bureaucrats telling us how to live our lives. They want more taxes. They want more regulations. They want more control. But we say no more. They want us divided, black against white, rich against poor, rural against urban. But we see through their lies. This movement, the MAGA movement, is all about us coming together as Americans. We believe in freedom over control. We believe in fair elections over corruption. We believe in jobs over handouts. We believe in family, faith, and country. And let me tell you, I ain't here to play politics. I'm here to fight for you. That's why I'm running for re-election as your Recorder of Deeds. Not to be another politician, but to be a watchdog against corruption, to protect your property rights, and to make sure the government is transparent and accountable. And I promise you this, after I win the Recorder of Deeds, I'm not stopping there. These establishment politicians have been bleeding you dry, raising taxes, playing political games with your money for far too long. I'm going to put an end to that. They'll try to smear us, silence us, call us every name in the book, but they will never break our spirit. We are MAGA strong, America first, and unstoppable. So Fayette County, are you ready to take back your government? Are you ready to send a message to the swamp that we the people are in charge? Are you ready to stand up, fight back, and win? Then let's get to work. Tell your neighbors, because the Hillbilly MAGA train is leaving the station and we're taking our country and our county back. Full speed ahead. God bless Fayette County. God bless Pennsylvania. And God bless the United States of America. And God bless President Donald J. Trump. I am John Marietta, and I am the Hillbilly.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Hello, everybody. This is John Marietta, and I am the Hillbilly. We had a little bit of a mistake there. We was trying to figure out which microphone we was going to use. But anyways, today's show is being brought to you by Miser's Garage and Tire Center, Mung's Auto Body, PatriotsOnline.com, Fayette County Recovery Storage and U-Haul, Country Motor Sales, Gary's Auto Sales, Gunslingers in Connellsville, JB Market in Dunbar, Thundering Hills Feed and Supply, The Ink Spot in South Connellsville, Fayette County MAGA Patriots Group, Solid Foundation Ministry, Highline Motorsports, New Life Free Methodist Church, Gun Owners of America, John, the Hillbilly Jon Radio, which is on YouTube, John Marietta for We the People, and Fayette Structures. Let's just get right to it today. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. That's John 15:13. On July the 4th, which we know that John Adams said it was July the 2nd, 1776, 56 men affixed their names to a document that would change the course of history. The Declaration of Independence was more than a political statement. It was a pledge of loyalty, sacrifice, and shared conviction in the right to live free from tyranny. But what many forget is this. For each signer, it was a profound act of defiance, but more importantly, it was an act of faith. By signing that parchment, they weren't just declaring independence from a king. They were entrusting their future to the King of Kings. The final line of the Declaration reads, "And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our futures, and our sacred honor." That phrase, firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, echoes the same spirit of Psalm 33:12, which says, "Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord." These men knew they were outgunned, outnumbered, unprepared for the full force of the British Empire, but they also knew that God governs in the affairs of man. Let's not romanticize the cost. 5 were captured and tortured. 12 had their homes ransacked and burned. 2 lost sons in the Revolutionary War. 9 died from wounds or hardships of that war. They weren't perfect men. Some were wealthy, others were farmers or tradesmen, but they were united on the belief that liberty was worth everything. Their courage should challenge us right now today. Are we willing to stand for the truth in an age that increasingly compromises it? Are we bold enough to declare that our rights come not from government, but from the Almighty? Are we ready to defend our faith our families, and our freedoms, no matter what the cost. Paul tells us in Galatians 5:1, stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewithin Christ hath made us free, and not be entangled again to the yoke of bondage. The liberty we enjoy in America, and more importantly, the liberty we have in Christ, or our God, must be guarded, nourished, and passed down. We need to be thankful that God blessed us and our nation with 56 men of courage and faith who pledged their lives for freedom. May we never take their sacrifice for granted. Strengthen us to be bold, strong witnesses for our God and in our time. Help us to walk in the freedom of Christ and to stand firm in our convictions, even when the cost is high. Bless this nation. That's what we want. We want God's blessing on this nation. But most of all, bless the church and help it to be the light in every generation forward. I actually did, that's part of what I did yesterday at church, a little bit different, but almost, and I tell you what, I think we need to remember what these men did for us, and that's what the show is going to be about today. We can win a couple different directions, and but I really think because the July the 4th happened on a Friday and we weren't here, and I wanted to do that. I also want to reiterate, I think my guest is on the line. Chris, are you with us?
I most certainly am.
I also want to talk about a couple things. First of all, the Marriagetown Parade was an overwhelming success for myself and for many others. I want to thank all the people that helped promote that. They helped get money for the fireworks, and it was a good time. We passed out of almost 1,000 bags of popcorn. We ran out just the last little bit. We thought was going to have enough, and then that's the way it went. But I apologize if you didn't get bags. Next year we'll have to pop 1,200. And other thing I want to thank people for, I got to go to the fireworks, the red, white, and blue down in Connellsville, and I really want to tell everybody that was involved in that and putting that all together. It was an amazing time. I enjoyed myself immensely, and we got to watch the fireworks get shot up over Connellsville, I don't know how long it lasted, 40 minutes, but I tell you what, I know that there was a lot of effort there and a lot of money that had to be raised to pay for these things. The third thing I want to tell everybody about was, and there'll probably be pictures and maybe a little bit of a video, we floated down the river yesterday from Connellsville down at the park down to a little bit past Adelaide, and it was the first time that I've ever got to do that. I mean, I spent a lot of time at the river, but it was an amazing day. And I tell you what, I think we got this all wrong. I know that the trails and everything that we're trying to promote, I think we need to promote that river unbelievably, because I understand there's times that you can't get in, but I tell you what, I seen more people on that river yesterday. Now I know it was a hot day than definitely was walking up and down the bike trail. So it was amazing, and the river's already there. We don't even have to buy it, or we don't have to force eminent domain on anybody. We can just use the river. So anyways, and I'm sure there's Fish and Game Commission and the Boating Commission for Pennsylvania. Probably there's laws with permits and things like that you have to do. But I tell you what, it was an amazing time for me. Me and my wife enjoyed ourselves immensely, and I can't thank Gino Gallo enough for doing that for me. Okay, now Chris, to you. I'm just about out of breath here. I've been talking now for a while, but Chris and I have been friends for a long time, and Chris he was a writer for a couple of different congressmen, and of course, entailed in that, he had to do a lot of history and follow through with a lot of different things. And I called him this morning and I said, let's do a show about the Founding Fathers, because I think maybe this is something people need to understand a little bit better. So Chris, I'm going to let you take it away. There's a lot of I know you probably got 3 or 4 inches of papers in front of you because you probably worked all morning on it. So let's get started. Where do we want to start with?
Well, I certainly do my research, just like I did when I wrote speeches for a congressman on Capitol Hill. So it's never wise to shoot from the hip. It's always good to do your research. So this is what I have. There were 56 men who signed the Declaration of Independence. It was completed on July 2nd of 1776 and released to the public, much like a press release, on July 4th. The first person to sign the Declaration of Independence was John Hancock. And if you notice, he had the largest signature on the Declaration because he wanted the king to be able to make out his name clearly. What happened was John Hancock was a very wealthy man. He earned his own wealth through hard work, and the king ordered his home, John Hancock's home, to be taken over and used for the British military, their headquarters. So Hancock resented that his beautiful home was taken over by the British and used as a headquarters for the British military. So he was a holdout. He didn't want to join the cause of the revolution, not until they took his home. And then he made sure his signature was larger than life so that the king would know that he signed it. Okay, so of these 56 men who bravely signed the Declaration of Independence, declaring their independence from the British Empire, these are the sacrifices and sufferings they endured, okay? 11 signers of the Declaration of Independence had their homes destroyed by the British Empire. 5 were hunted down and captured. 17 served in the colonial military and then died. 9 of them died during the war. 27-year-old George Walton at the Battle of Savannah was wounded and captured. Signers of the Declaration, Edward Rutledge, age 27, Thomas Hayward Jr., age 30, and Arthur Middleton, age 34, were made prisoners at the siege of Charleston. 38-year-old Thomas Nelson had his home used, also another man who had his home used as British headquarters. During the siege of Yorktown, in this case, they used his home. So he was so upset that it's been reported that Nelson offered 5 guineas. That's not quite like $1, but it's similar. He offered 5 guineas to anyone. That's a currency. He would give them money to the first man who hit his house with cannon fire. He was willing to destroy his house in order to destroy the British headquarters that was set up in his house.
Now
he was rumored to pay people. I'm sorry?
That was at Charleston?
That was at Yorktown.
Yorktown, okay.
Yeah, so he said, first person that hits my house with a cannon fire, I'll give you 5 guineas. Now, I don't know what that currency of a guinea would translate today compared to $1, but it was some kind of currency. So he was willing to pay someone to blow up his house to get rid of the British headquarters in his house. Carter Braxton, age 40, lost his fortune during the war.
Yes.
42-year-old Thomas McKean wrote that he was hunted like a fox by the British, and he had to relocate his family 5 times in a 3-month period because they were hunting him down. 46-year-old Richard Stockton signed and was dragged from his bed at night and jailed. 50-year-old Lewis Morris had his home taken and used as barracks. Again, the British Empire commonly took over people's homes and used them for their military campaigns. 50-year-old Abraham Clark had 2 sons tortured and imprisoned on the British prison ship, the Jersey, where many Americans starved to death. It was such deplorable conditions. These prison ships were so deplorable, many Americans died on these ships from starvation.
Well,
In
yes,
fact,
because like
I'm sorry.
Yes, because like in the War of 1812, when that's what the writer of the not the Declaration of Independence, but the Star Spangled Banner. That's what his mission was. He was sent to one of the ships to help get prisoners released, and he ended up staying on the ship that night. But that was the War of 1812. But go ahead. I didn't mean to.
No, you're right. And that's when he wrote down what happened and turned it into the
Star Spangled
Banner.
Yeah, that was Francis Scott Key. Go ahead.
Yes, you're absolutely right. But here's the statistic that really matters. More Americans died on the British prison ships than those who died during battles in the Revolution. More Americans or colonial Americans died on the British prison ships by way of starvation. So more starved to death on these British prison ships than actually died in battle. That's how bad it was on these ships. It was like a dungeon. Terrible. Disease and rats infested these ships, and people starved to death. Amazing. And these people refused to go back on their word. If you're starving to get to death, most people would say, hey, I surrender. They did not. They'd rather die than turn against the cause of the revolution. 53-year-old John Witherspoon's son, James, was killed in battle in Germantown. That would be Maryland. 60-year-old Philip Livingston lost several properties to British occupation. Again, the British took over his homes and his properties. And then he died before the war ended. 63-year-old Francis Lewis had his wife imprisoned, and she was treated so harshly by the British, she died after she was released. And they must have beat her pretty badly, and probably, very possibly, could have made her starve like on the prison ships. 65-year-old John Hart had his home looted and had to remain in hiding, and he died before the war ended. So these are the pains and the sacrifices, including starving to death on a dungeon, basically a dungeon contained within a British prison ship with rats and disease, and they starved to death. This is what these people endured in order to have a revolution and start a new country and break from the king, break from the monarchy. Incredible sacrifice, John.
What I want to say is, how do we reflect upon this in today's society? I mean, at that time, there was less than 3% that actually fought in a revolution, and that's been documented. And like you say, the most died after they were captured. So you think about this. Do we have people that are willing to stand up right now and do the same thing? I mean, do we have people in our congressmen? I mean, which we have all these congressmen, we have all these senators, and you think about that. Would they be willing to do what these men did?
Well, under President Trump's leadership, military enlistments are way up because we have a strong leader in President Trump who makes our enemies fear us again. Unlike Joe Biden, who nobody feared, who everyone laughed at. He was the laughingstock of every world leader. They mocked him because they knew he was mentally incapable of doing the job. He continued, Joe Biden did, to fall over himself multiple times, fell off his bike. He fell several times going up the steps to Air Force One. He mumbled, he stumbled, he bumbled. Now we have a president who commands such a strong presence that our military enlistments are way up. I do believe under President Trump, we have military personnel who would give their lives for this country. Yes, I do.
I understand that, but you think about it. These men that fought in the Revolutionary War, they were far from being military men. Most of them, like I said, most of the people that signed the Declaration of Independence were shopkeepers, farmers.
Right.
Joe Pesci said in the one movie, he said he called them our founding parents. He said they were pompous white men. But you think about it, middle-aged white men, he said. Not all of them were. Jefferson was young. Of course, Franklin was older. But you think about these things. I don't know that. I don't know that that the people in Congress would have the backbone to stand up. I don't know if the people in the Senate would have. There'd be a few. I agree. Yeah, there would be a few. But I think most of them would be willing. And see, this is something that a lot of people don't know. The Tories, which that were in, and that's what we called the people that wanted to support the British Crown here that were part of the colonial, the 13 states. They wanted to stay with the British, and they actually fought with the British. So we had people that were here that fought with the British because they pretty much thought that there was no way that these farmers and shopkeepers would be able to ever stand their ground. I mean, let's face it, the British Empire at that time was second to none in the world.
Yeah, and what helped us was several things. One, the British were already fighting a war with France in Europe, so their troops were spread thin. Second, some of the British officers were brutal, and they acted in very oppressive, harsh ways, and it turned people against the British. There were people who were kind of on the fence. They didn't want to take a side. They didn't want to be with the British or the Patriots who were causing the revolution. They were kind of just riding the fence. And when they saw many officers doing harm and brutal in their tactics, it turned people against them. So one was John Simcoe. He was an officer in the British. He was brutal. There was another, I believe his name was Tarlington, was his last name.
That was
He's
right.
portrayed in the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they changed his name to Taffington, but his name was Tarlington. He was brutal. And so what they did through their harsh and brutal guerrilla warfare tactics is they turned people who were kind of neutral against the British. And then there was a third thing that helped, I guess. I said two. There was actually three. Let me correct myself. Basically, Ben Franklin was able to convince the French to get involved, and not only to help train our troops and make them more disciplined and bring money to the cause of the revolution, but to use their French ships to bottle up the British army, and that's exactly what ended up leading to the surrender that caused the end of the war. The French ships bottled up the British down there in Virginia Beach, and it ended up leading to the end of the war. And naturally after that, our founding fathers gave us the greatest document of all mankind, which is a constitutional republic in our Constitution and in our Bill of Rights. And what they said was the power of government comes from the consent of the people. So our rulers have their power to rule only as far as we allow them. So our rulers, Congress, and so on, those in all the various bureaus and agencies and departments, their power comes from us. And that's something we've forgotten.
You're exactly right. It's from we the people. That's what it said. We the people. I mean, let's think about it. If you're not, the Bible actually even speaks of this. I don't know the verse in the book in the chapter, but in the verse, but it says, Christ said, if you're not hot or cold, I spew you out of my mouth. And that's what these Tories were. They wanted to try to ride the fence. And when you're riding the fence, you're it don't work. You're just, there's nothing that when you're not going to take a side either way, you're a Tory. And that's what I say.
Yeah, you're referring to a reference in the book of Revelation. I don't remember chapter and verse where Jesus said, "You can't be lukewarm. If you are, I'll spew you from my mouth." That's what he was saying. You have to take a side. In other words, you can't play this neutral game when it comes to God or Satan. You have to choose a side. Going back to our constitutional republic, it's also important to know our founders made it abundantly clear in the Bill of Rights that those rights come from God, not government. If government gives us rights, then government can easily take them away. But if our rights come from God, which the Founding Fathers said they did, and they were correct, if our rights come from God, then the role of government isn't to give and take away rights. The role of government is to protect and defend the God-given rights spelled out in the Bill of Rights, and that's the purpose. Did you realize that since the Bill of Rights was written, about 200 years ago, a little more, do you realize that in that time, we've only had 27 changes to the Constitution in more than 200 years? Think about that, John. Less than 30 changes or amendments, to our Constitution. We have the first 10 Bill of Rights, and then 17 amendments after that. So since the Bill of Rights was written, the first 10, there's only been 17 more amendments to the Constitution in more than 200 years. That's insane. That's amazing. What that tells us is the Constitution is not supposed to be a living document that changes over time, as our progressive friends, our liberal friends claim. For if the Constitution is a changing document, an evolving document, then why is it so difficult to add amendments to the Constitution?
It's a living, breathing piece of paper. It is. And it can be. That's the uniqueness. That's the uniqueness about the Constitution, that we, the people, the regular people, are the ones that decide how our government works. It's the only it's the only country that has a document that gives the power to the people instead of the elite. And that's what I think I think that's, Chris, me and you've spoke about this too. I think that's what we've got away from in our country, where we think that because somebody is been elected, I'll say it, 17 times to Congress, they should have more power than the people that voted them in, and that's not true.
Well, I think it's obvious that since government has grown exponentially over the last 100 years or so, since the days of Woodrow Wilson, as government, the federal government becomes bigger and the state government becomes bigger, then the people begin to become more dependent on the federal and state governments and less responsible and accountable for themselves. And so one of the, I would say, the worst problems caused by a big federal government isn't just the cost of debt and deficits, that's a big one, but also big government, when people rely too much on big government, it destroys the sense of community at the local level. People no longer look to their friends and neighbors to solve problems because they're waiting for the federal government to give them another bailout, right? Another stimulus check. So rather than work with our neighbors and our community to fix problems at the local level, we've been conditioned to think the federal government is supposed to bail us out with another stimulus check and another bailout and so on. another program instead of the people doing it for themselves. Now, recently, the Democrats claimed that President Trump had violated his oath of office and misused his power. Of course, it wasn't true. The Supreme Court struck that all down. And they said that President Trump, all the things he's doing, rounding up illegal immigrants and deporting them and so on, that this is well within his constitutional authority by way of Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution. But it got me thinking. I find it ironic, John, that the Democrats and the Democrat Party of today would claim that President Trump, is abusing his authority when, in fact, he's not, and the Supreme Court upheld the fact that he is not abusing his authority. Meanwhile, there's a long list, John, of Democrat presidents who have misused their power and violated the Constitution, and I'm sure you know that.
I do.
Yes.
We can start.
So I have a list here. I'm sorry?
We probably can start with way back.
Yes. Excellent. Very well said. Going back to the very first Democrat president, Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson was a racist, well-known racist. He purchased land in what would be Alabama and Mississippi, and he sold it, made a big profit. And as part of the condition of his sale of Alabama and Mississippi, he made sure that whoever purchased the land that he sold in what is now Alabama and Mississippi, that they had to put cotton farms and cotton fields on the land, and they had to have slaves. He made sure this was a stipulation of the sale of that land. He wanted slaves to pick cotton. He mandated this when he sold the land. But he also did something brutal. While president, he forced Native American people off of their lands in states like Louisiana, Georgia, I think parts of Florida as well. And he made these Native Americans walk all the way to Oklahoma and put them on a reservation. He stole their land out from underneath them. And during this walk from Louisiana, Georgia, and I believe parts of Florida, 16,000 of these Native Americans, men, women, and children, died as a result of Andrew Jackson stealing their land and forcing them to walk all the way to Oklahoma. Do you know what this was called?
It was called the Trail of Tears.
Yes, sir. The Native Americans called it the Trail of Tears. The first Democrat president forced the Trail of Tears on the Native American people, killing 16,000. This is nothing short of genocide. Compare this with the first Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, who freed slaves, who helped push the bill through Congress to create an amendment and end slavery. And he also helped push that along with his executive orders as well during the Civil War. He did everything he could to end slavery, and he died for it. He was shot by John Wilkes Booth, who, by the way, was a Southern Democrat. So let's go to Woodrow Wilson. Do you know what Democrat Woodrow Wilson did to violate the Constitution and law?
Well, when I studied, I do like history, and I was always very good at it. But one of the things, what did they call World War I? Do you remember what they called what most of the people?
The Great War.
No, they called it Wilson's War.
Oh, that's true.
They called it Wilson's War. And like I said, there was a definite. The Canadians was already involved in that, and that was kind of like there's some other things that pulled it into us. But actually, once again, we went and helped the French out, and of course they helped us get our country going. So I guess we felt like we still owed them. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. I think we did feel like we owed the French because of their support for us in the Revolution. Okay, so the very first progressive Democrat president, the first Democrat to call himself a progressive and be president, was Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson during World War I, by the way, Wilson lied about World War I when he ran in 1912. Then he had to run again in 1916. And during re-election, he said he would not get us into World War I, but behind the scenes, he was already preparing us for war. So he blatantly lied there. But he also, and this is the unconstitutional illegal act of Woodrow Wilson, the first progressive Democrat president, Wilson arrested journalists and reporters that wrote stories against him. He then had them placed in jail. So he violated the constitutional rights of journalists and reporters simply because they wrote stories against him. And this is appalling. And those reporters and journalists did not get out of jail until President Calvin Coolidge, the Republican, pardoned them all. Now you move to Democrat President FDR, Franklin Roosevelt. He issued an executive order, which was Executive Order 9066. He removed all Japanese Americans. These were American citizens. He removed them from their homes and properties, placed them in prison camps. And they lost their homes, they lost their jobs, they were separated from their families. This was completely unconstitutional, but, he got away with it. So I've already named two, right? Actually three, make that three. Andrew Jackson, Wilson, and FDR. We never hear Democrats talking about the violations of the constitutional rights of Americans committed by these three Democrat presidents. I'll give you three more. Democrat President Lyndon Johnson lied about the Gulf of Tonkin incident twice. It was all a lie. It never happened. He claimed American ships were being attacked, and that justified the massive buildup for the Vietnam conflict, but it never happened. He made it up. And then he went to war in Vietnam without congressional approval. He violated the law and the Constitution. And then Jimmy Carter, this is number 5, this is another Democrat, violated the law and the Constitution. He undermined the Shah of Iran, who was a friend of the USA. The Shah of Iran allowed for freedom for women and men there. He was allowing for Western society to have its way in their culture. Women could vote, women could dress how they want, they could drive, and so on. He let that all be taken away by placing in power this Ayatollah Khomeini. Ever since he's done that, Iran has been a leading sponsor of terrorism ever since, and also Carter violated the law again by creating FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, without congressional approval. He issued a executive order and created an agency within our federal government without Congress's approval. And there's more, but I'll give you the most egregious examples. This is number 6. President Obama bombed 5 nations and never reported to Congress. He violated the War Powers Act of 1973. The War Powers Act of 1973 said that a president can take military action so long as he reports to Congress within 48 hours. Well, Obama bombed all 5 of these nations and never once reported to Congress. And on top of that, one of the men killed by Obama's bombings was an American citizen, and his due process rights were violated because he was killed without ever having his day in court. So these are just 6 examples of 6 Democrat presidents who blatantly and egregiously violated the Constitution and the law. John, have you ever heard of the Democrats or the media complaining about any of these Democrat presidents?
Definitely not the media. Definitely not.
No. So they went after Trump, claiming he violated the Constitution and his authority. The Supreme Court slapped that down and said, no, he did not. So Trump has been operating within the law, within the Constitution. I find it absolutely hypocritical that I just named 6, and there's more. I'm sure I could find more if I dug deeper. Democrat presidents who violated the Constitution and the law, and we never hear a thing, not one word, from the media or the Democrat Party about these Democrat presidents who completely violated the Constitution.
Well, here we are again. And we'll have to we have to figure out. Not we have to figure out, but back to the founding fathers. You think about what you just said and how people violated the Constitution, but they're trying to make it out that Donald Trump was the one that he's the most pertinent. And actually, he did report to Congress within 48 hours. Do I have that correct?
Absolutely, he did. He reported to Congress and let them know what he was doing within the War Powers Act of 1973 after he took those bombing strikes against Iran.
Well, Chris, where do we head from here? I mean, do you think we have? I believe I have all faith in our military. I believe that our veterans should be number one, first off in our hearts and all of our prayers. Because if it wasn't for them, there wouldn't be no United States of America. They've protected us over the years many, many times. And I think that we need to do a better job of taking care of our vets, no matter what happens. I mean, we did a pitiful job with and that's probably kindly saying it. There are vets from Vietnam. I mean, it was sinful. It was sinful how we've treated these men, and now we're back. Now we have the Gulf Wars, and of course, just what happened in Israel and Iran. I really believe our president did the right thing on this. I really feel that way. So we're not putting boots on the ground. So it's making It's where we need to be. It's where we need to be right now. We need to be. I agree with supplying Israel with everything that we can. I'm not so sure that we need to be the ones that are fighting a war for them. We don't need another. We definitely don't need definitely don't need another proxy war. We've already spent how many billions of dollars into Ukraine, and where has that got us?
Oh, absolutely. And imagine if George W. Bush had done what Trump did. Maybe take some military strikes at Iraq and Afghanistan, and then applied economic sanctions so they would, cough up bin Laden. What if he had done that and not sent military ground troops, into two different wars? That might have worked better.
Okay, yeah, and I believe you. Hey, Chris, guess what? We've spent 40 minutes here.
Oh, wow.
So, hey, I appreciate it. I thank you for all your input. We'll be talking soon. You've been a great advisor of mine, and I want to thank you for everything you've done. So,
well, thank you for having me on your show.
Okay, I'll talk to you later. We're going to close up the show today. Tomorrow, tune in. We're going to have a powerful show tomorrow. We got some things planned. So, 4:15 as usual. On this road called life, you have to take the good with the bad. Smile with the sad. Love what you got. Remember what you had. Always forgive, but never forget. Learn from your mistakes. People change. Things go wrong. Just remember, the ride goes on. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless America. I am Jon Marietta, and I am the Hillbilly. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow at 4:15. It's going to be a great deal.
This is CBS News on the